Clubhouse?
Clubhouse, man. You got on recently. You've been in the rooms, can't sleep, and you be jumping in the rooms. But
Oh man.
first, before we get into our top five, we were in the Death Row versus Bad Boy battle.
Yes.
And so I'm gonna read to you because I was live tweeting while I was going on. So one of the ones that they had head to head was they played 10 Crack Commandments from Biggie and
Hmm.
then Ambitions as a Rider from Pac. Which one y'all got out of those two?
Ambition as a writer.
That's a tough one.
It's tough.
Dang.
Hmm.
I can't call that one. That one's
Pac,
even.
Pac for me. Pac for me. Then one of the things like that my friend Aisha and or Aisha that was on here, our friend was saying they should have got into the Little Kim bag, and then the next day we were on there and we realized Little Kim was not on Bad Boy. She was on Entertainment, Lance Rivera's label that was on Atlantic. So yeah, she worked with that whole camp, but she wasn't signed to Bad Boy. So that's one of the things that you got to consider because they have parameters on it. So it's like Death Row from 92 to 96, and then Bad Boy from 94 to 98. So you could only play those songs from those years and only songs from the artists that were actually signed onto the label. But it was very interesting because when you do stuff like that, it's a lot of regional bias involved, man.
Mhm.
So whether you are like you guys who are from the West but love the East Coast music way more than the West Coast music, and Jesse's dad will be disappointed. Um, he would bring the belt out if he heard you say Biggie over Pac, even though you said the correct one. But it think back to that time when we were growing up, when we were, what, 7 to 10 years old, listening to that music. And the radio was the thing. Like we didn't really have, well, not we didn't have streaming to where it was like boom, 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 boom. You could pick whatever songs it is that you wanted. You listened to whatever was on the radio. You taped when your song came on. You had to tape it so you could make your own mixtape.
Mhm.
Then you bought the CDs, and then if you had a little bit of change, you maybe had the disc changer in the car, or the 100 disc changer in the house with the stereo, with the big ass stereo. But the radio was the thing. So whatever the West Coast radio stations was playing, which was a lot more West Coast stuff, that's what you were grew up on. And we played, some East Coast stuff too. But the East Coast, would not play really a whole lot of West Coast stuff, especially around that time because there was a lot of beef.
Yeah.
So, there was a lot of regional bias.
So how was the room? What did they say? Who won?
It was a
It
mix,
was
man.
it was torn because the people that were from the West was all saying West Coast stuff, which based on the songs that were being played, it should have been West Coast.
Hmm.
Not
So,
by a landslide, but more.
so
Um,
you had people from all over on there.
yeah, yeah. And then based on the people that were from the East, they were saying the East Coast songs all the time,
You don't
regardless
think
of.
you don't think people on there were just saying like West Coast has great music, but they didn't say West Coast because they were just scared that somebody was in there that knew who they was and they just come find them.
Nah, I think it was a regional bias, and I think back growing up, like if you were from L.A. or Southern California or from the Bay or whatever, then that's what was hitting at that time. Like that's where you were hearing at on the
Hmm.
radio, at the functions, all that. And if you were from the East Coast, then that's what you was hearing. So the feeling and the nostalgia, I think, was taking over instead of having like an unbiased opinion.
Hmm.
So that was my take. But who were you rocking with more back then, Bad Boy or Death Row?
For me,
Then,
it's Bad Boy.
yeah, for me, it would have to be Bad Boy. But like I said, around that time though, too, during those years, it was more Tupac because my dad, that's all he listened to was Tupac. So that's what I learned. That's where I got my enjoyment for Tupac was from my dad. So during those years, but then as I got older, when Mace was coming out and all that stuff, I was like, oh shoot, because it was those catchy songs, the
And
shiny.
Harlem World was a perfect album.
Yes,
No skips.
it's a
You
great
know what
album.
it is? Like I had influence from like friends that would be out here, and then all they listened to was West Coast music, Death Row, Dog Pound, whatever it might be. So I listened. I got to listen to a lot, and I enjoyed all of it. But I mean, when I was alone and I wasn't around those types of like those homies, I would listen to East Coast music, which was Bad Boy. But I would be the only one listening to it by myself, just because I enjoyed it, and then I couldn't play it out here because you would get that side eye, like, why are you playing that, and that's kind of like going back to that regional thing. Like you know you grew up listening to what was around you, and a lot of us on the West Coast maybe listened to it on the side, or we got to it later after like all the beef was over, and like, okay,
Yeah.
I feel like it's okay for me to listen to that now. And it's probably the same thing in the West. I mean, in the East, a lot of them didn't get a chance because East Coast radio would not play West Coast music,
Not
right?
at that time, no.
So it just took a lot of us. It took us some time to get to that type of music.
Yeah. For me, it's both because I grew up on both. I grew up on a lot of different music. Like my mom would have us listening to Sergio Mendez and Steely Dan, and my dad would have West Side Connection or Bobby Brown, Whitney. My grandparents would have Al Green, Barry White, like all kind of stuff, right? So I grew up on a whole bunch of different types of music, which I think has really helped, with my musical palette now and all the different range of music that I listen to, even to this day.
What's your favorite NSYNC song?
My favorite NSYNC song is probably
Bye bye.
Gone. Nah, Gone.
Okay, I
Cool,
thought
man.
it
But
was a Steve Ballmer. Bye bye. Oh no, I mean that's Jerry West. Jerry West.
Jerry
Jerry West.
West.
Bye bye.
bye, bye,
That
bye.
and what was the room that you were in last night, Jesse? That
Oh
you
man,
pulled me into?
I was in this room. It was called 90-Second Fiance. So,
I wasn't talking about that one, but go ahead.
oh,
So Blevin,
I was
Blevin,
talking about the music one, but go
oh,
ahead.
oh, real
Blevins
But go
probably
ahead.
runs that room, huh?
Oh, real quick. So there was about 400 people there. So pretty much what they were doing, it was putting one contestant, like a girl or a guy, and hey, look at all these pics and show me who you like. And then they'll be like, oh, I like this guy. And then they'll bring that guy up to the stage technically, and they'll be talking. So the moderators will be like, hey, on your first date, what does it take for you to go all the way? Or uh, do you got your teeth? And then the guy didn't respond, be like, hey, sir, do you have your teeth? And there, everybody was like, he ain't got a grill. He ain't got a grill. It took him forever to respond. Then he finally was like, nah, I was looking at your pics, girl. He was like, but
It'd be wild on there, man.
it's
They even
wild,
have
man.
like moan rooms as well.
Oh,
Like
goodness. It's just
you
the most
get three
entertaining.
hundred dollars cash app for the best moan. They had a Jesus moan room and they were praying and
What the hell?
moaning for Jesus and stuff. Like it's wild on there.
I was because I was just going through each room just to hear because it's just entertainment, man. When I'm like doing nothing, I just like to put it on. But there was one about microdosing. They were like all about drugs. They were like, yeah, when you're in the space, I get this energy off of you. But when you're in the space and you're on this other world, I'm like, okay, this is not for me.
Fam, they had eventually we're gonna have to get into our top five, but they had one that was a scam one. They were talking about EDD scams and SBA scams. So they were asking people like, what city do you live in? Where do you work? Um, does where you work have curbside pickup? So they were like, who works at Home Depot? Okay, we're gonna link. Shoot me a DM so we can figure out this scam. Who works at Applebee's? Who works at like it was just crazy, bruh. And I was like, dude, I got to get out of here because the feds is probably listening and they are not about to take me down.
I
And I
was
have
about to say
nothing to
that.
do what's going on.
I was about to say that right now. Like, who do you think is really monitoring this? And who, like me, I'm gonna go to the conspiracy side. Who do you think created this?
They are though, because think about it, like it's in beta mode still. So
Yeah.
definitely the people from the company are listening. And if you having incriminating stuff on there, your
You
ass
gotta
is
pass it,
gone.
and you gotta pass that along as soon as the government start knocking at the door saying, "Yo, we need in." They're gonna let. If they're not in
A
there
lot of
already,
times those companies try not to though, but who knows, man? Who knows?
if they're
I
gonna
would
cut the check or say like, you gotta shut down, what do you think they're gonna do?
cut the check.
We'll see.
Mm.
They
I
ain't
don't.
coming after me. I know that.
We'll get into our next topic, but it's funny. I was in one room. It had the game, 21 Savage. Mace was in there, and when Mace showed up, everybody was like, "Oh, Mace, Mace!" So there were Game was asking Mace questions about like how he came up, why he left. It was pretty cool when then Tyrese came in there. Oh man, that was clouded Tyrese. But all right, man, that was it.